Welcome to The Brad Taylor, where we have a purpose and passion for business. I'm so excited to be with my friend Roger today. Roger is a Hall of Fame speaker. He's a very successful author, and Roger is the host of Motivational Mondays on the Tennis Channel. Roger,
Brad, good to see you.
tell me a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, my friend.
How did you get into the professional speaking circuit?
So you mentioned tennis. So tennis is really my background. I played tennis in high school and in college, and I have a physical challenge that affects all four of my limbs. And you know, I had some success on the tennis court, and then people started asking me, hey, would you come to this group or that group and give a speech? And I always say that my speaking career started when someone said, what do you charge? And I said, hey, that's a pretty good idea. So that's how I got, that's how I started my speaking career, and it's been 30 some years, and it's been such an amazing privilege. I've had the opportunity of speaking for your organization and have admired your great success over the years. So I cherish every opportunity, Brad, I really do.
So what keeps you going? What is your purpose? What is your passion after all these years?
Well, I know something that you talk about in your new book is about the importance of passion and purpose. And
Right.
well, I wholeheartedly agree. You know, some people think if I have goals, right, that's going to lead me to massive success. I think goals are the first step, because goals are something cerebral and they require an intellectual commitment, right? But purpose or passion, what you talk about, is a bit different. Purpose and passion is something you wrap your heart around, and you have an emotional commitment to it. And when you have an emotional commitment to something, you never let those disappointments, right, become more powerful than your desire. So that's why I think goals are important, but I think you got to find that purpose and passion in life. It's got to go beyond money. It's got to go beyond notoriety. It has to be something that you feel that you can contribute. It has to be something that goes outward, not inward. And that's what I call significance. You know, prominence is all about us, right? But significance is about others. And when you can find that significance, you're on your way to identifying your passion.
And in my book, in chapter 10, I talk about success. And Roger has an incredible quote in there that I look forward to everyone viewing. Let me ask you a question. I love your humor.
Okay.
In your videos and when you present to crowds, you always have some humor.
Absolutely.
How important is humor in what you do?
Oh, well, so humor to me, yeah, go ahead.
And you can't not laugh. I mean, your humor is you can't make this stuff up that Roger shares. It is like real life experiences.
Right. Well, thank you, Brad. So humor unlocks people mentally. It unlocks their thinking. It puts them at ease. It also opens their heart.
Right.
The
Very
root
important.
of the word humor is Omar, and the definition of that is flexible and fluid. Humor is one of life's greatest gifts, and if you can laugh, if you can just laugh hard, and really open up your mind and your heart and your spirit, it's what helps people retain what you've said. It makes it more relevant and remembered. Also, when you talked about the humor that I use, it is about real life, because humor happens every day.
Right, but
always
there's
funny
also
things.
that emotional connection.
Right.
When I was watching one of your videos about the FedEx guy,
Yeah.
I mean, it was like I'm laughing at the airport and everyone around me is probably wondering, what's this guy laughing at? But it was just awesome.
Right. Well, thank you. You know, I also think it's important that, you know, when I stand in front of a group and people see my hands and they learn about the fact I have an artificial leg, I think it's important that I can show the audience that I'm able to laugh at myself. I'm able to see the humor in my own life. And when I do that, I think it communicates to them that, hey, you know what, this person's comfortable with who he is. So, you know, I'm going to listen to what he has to say, and maybe I can learn something about myself. Right. Now I can feel more comfortable and more at ease.
Right.
Because I just think it's so important that everybody celebrate their uniqueness. You know, it's so interesting. We tend to look at what we can't do and we look at our weaknesses and we think, gosh, if I could fix that, or if I could do better in that area, then I'd be more successful. And I say to people, look, when you got 3 fingers, I'm a lousy piano player. That's how it goes, right? If I spent all my time and energy trying to do that, I wouldn't be very successful. So what I say to audiences, what do you do well? What do you do exceptional? Then I want you to take that giftedness and refine it and just make it spectacular.
Right.
That's where you achieve massive success. I don't think it's all about trying to fix what you can't do or fix what you don't possess. It's finding what you do have. And everybody's got that within them, Brad. Everybody has that unique gift.
But even listening to you talk, you've got the passion. After so many years,
Sure.
you know, you're not looking at Mondays as, oh God, I have to go to work Mondays. You're looking at Mondays like, man, I can't wait to start.
Absolutely.
And I think that's when you know you love what you're doing.
Right. Sure. And when it comes to speaking, Brad, what I've always believed is this. If you're authentic in front of an audience, they'll listen to what you have to say. It's important that you also honor the audience. You're not speaking to them, you're speaking with them. You're giving them an experience. Maybe you're sharing something out of your own life, but what you want to do is help them look at something in their life with maybe a different perspective. It can be as simple as, and I've heard this a number of times from people, you know, I listened to you speak and I thought to myself, if you can do it, I can do it. And I'm like, awesome.
But it's the stories.
Sure.
And the stories are what bring that emotional connection, I think,
Right.
to so many people. Because your stories people tell are transparent. They really are emotional. And regardless of what situation people are in, I think a lot of people can relate in some way,
Of
shape,
course.
or form. Yeah.
Everybody in the audience that I speak to has been knocked down. Everyone, Brad. Everyone has felt rejection, discouragement, felt like they weren't enough. All of them have felt that way. So my life's not different than their life.
Right.
And something that I say to audience is this. Look, real handicaps like mine, they can be overcome. The imaginary ones disable us. You got to work on those imaginary ones. It's about belief, and I know you talk a lot about that.
Belief is huge because we all struggle with it. Everyone struggles with belief at some time throughout their life.
You very rarely, if ever, perform better than you believe you can. I mean, when you talk to people, I mean, you lead a lot of people every day. You know that the level that people believe they can achieve is often their ceiling. If you can raise that level of belief, performance is going to follow. It's all about belief. And people say, well, is attitude enough? And I say, no. It's not enough, but it is the foundation.
Right.
Because you can have opportunity, you can have giftedness, you can have the best plans in the world, but if you've got a negative mindset, you're not going to be successful.
Well, it's the old saying, you hang around who you want to be around.
Right.
You hang around, if you hang around negative people, you're going to be negative.
Right.
And I'm a firm believer that negativity will tear you down.
Oh, there's no question, and it erodes your confidence. And here's the other thing, Ben, about belief, is that life, in many ways, is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, I'm hesitant to say that that's 100% true because there's some things that happen in life that just are unpredictable and so forth. I mean, that's just part of life. But I do think that you most often get what you expect. So what I want people to think about is, what do they expect in their future? Do they see themselves being successful? And if they start to look at their excuses, I want them to really examine those, because I say to audiences, quickest way to increase performance is decrease excuses. And when you look at these excuses, I want you to ask yourself, is it really valid? I mean, I hear people say to me, well, this other person is smarter than I am. I'm like, really? How are you sure of that? Or he or she is more talented. I don't believe it. Excuses, again, are one of those imaginary obstacles. The reason I think we make excuses, Brad, is because we think it's going to protect us from pain. Oh, I'm not going to try. I'm not going to try because that person had a break and I didn't. Or I'm not going to take a risk because, you know, that person failed and I might fail too. So you think, oh, if I just don't try and I make an excuse, then I'm going to protect myself from pain, because if I take a risk and I fail, that's going to be painful. But here's the myth. Excuses are just as painful as failure.
And everyone has failure in their life. And it's the old saying, if you don't take that risk, you're never going to know. I mean, you've heard me share this story that in the 90s, my wife and I decided to move from Florida to Oregon, and we didn't have any family in Oregon at the time. And our family members and other people said we were going to fail. Right. We'd be back. We'd be back in 6 months. And part of my motivation was the thought, that little voice in your head where people are saying, you're not going to make it. You're going to be back. And that was part of my motivation. But at the end of the day, you know, I had to believe I was going to be successful, because your belief is what, you know, gets you to that next level in a lot of cases.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And failure, as I see it, gives you great information and great insight that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
And you learn from your mistakes.
To
make sure you don't go back down that road again.
Well, think about how you've built your business. And I bet if we went back and we looked at it year by year, I bet you could tell me experience that you've had of failure, of self-doubt. But I think you can see how that has fueled you, given you the inspiration, information to move forward and become the success that you have today.
You know,
it doesn't come without it.
Yeah,
right?
You know the one word I tell people, if you ask me what was, in my book under chapter 1, I have the 12 intangibles of success. To me, belief is huge, but persistence.
Yes, absolutely.
Persistence is the key, because you have to be persistent in anything you set out to accomplish, whether it's just going to the gym, whether it's, you know, with your children, with family members, with your career. Persistence is like huge to me.
I absolutely agree. Someone asked me this the other day. They said, how do you view persistence? And I said, you know, interestingly enough, it's a combination of perseverance and patience. Oftentimes people give up too soon.
Yeah. Right before they see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
I've seen business owners literally call it quits, and if they just would have just
hung in there, just been a little more patient. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's that combination, because sometimes people can be persistent, right, for a short period of time, but it's perseverance and patience. It's you got to be in it for the long haul. Because success doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. That's another myth.
That is a myth.
People think, oh gosh, you know, I'm gonna be hugely successful.
Or they'll say you're successful because you were lucky. You know, I don't think I was lucky. I think it was a lot of hard work, and part of that could be the way I grew up and my work ethic.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, to me, it goes back down to persistence, belief. You know.
Mm-hmm. Well, you had mentioned the work that I've been doing with Tennis Channel, and it's been really, really fascinating, Brad. I've got to meet some of the top players in the world, such as Roger Federer and
you
Rafa
spoke
Nadal.
all over. You spoke in other countries, correct?
Yeah, Australian Open, which was
so
such
awesome.
a great privilege. But you were talking about luck, and I was just thinking about this as you said that. So you look at somebody like Roger Federer or Rafa Nadal. Were they lucky? Yeah, they were lucky, because they have amazing, God-given athletic ability, without a doubt. However, there are other people that also have that athletic ability. Not just them, the work that they've put in. When I watch these world-class athletes that are so naturally gifted go out and practice on the tennis court, it's serious business.
Yeah.
They're not out taking it easy or coasting. They're the best in the world, and they're looking for ways to get better. I'm so inspired by that, because when I hear people say, oh, well, that athlete, they had these gifts and that gifts. They were so fortunate and so lucky. That's true up to a certain point, but that's just part of the story.
Well, and you bring up a good point, because I think when some people see success, they start to have some complacency.
Right.
They feel they've reached that peak. And for me, over the last 30 years in just the publishing industry, for me, you have to be on your game 110%. You have to keep figuring out what you can do better. And I'm sure in the speaking industry, it's the same. But for athletes, my gosh, you have to be...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's true in every business. Yeah, I just was reflecting back on an experience I had when, this was quite a number of years ago, but I had the opportunity of sharing the platform with Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote, the book, The Power of Positive Thinking, which is just such an incredible book. It has really impacted a lot of lives. And I'll never forget, he was in his 90s, and after his presentation, he took questions, and someone asked him, Dr. Peale, what is your greatest accomplishment? And here's what he said: I don't know, I haven't accomplished it yet. Isn't that great? That's an amazing...
Well, everybody has to have goals. And, for me, my goal one day was to write a book. And that was in my bucket list. And it's coming out in January, And so everybody should always strive to achieve something new in their life, a new goal.
Absolutely. And no matter what age. That to me is also something about life, is that as you get older, some people think, well, I can slow down, I don't have to work as hard. And for some people that might be true, but they're going to have to find a way to redirect their passion. Because just doing something for yourself, I don't think that really fulfills your purpose.
Well, and you said something that I love, and Roger mentions this in my chapter 10. I think the more success you have, the more you want to give back.
Absolutely.
The more you want to help others succeed. I had someone who wrote my foreword. He asked me, his name's Tomas, he asked me, what keeps you going every day? And I responded by saying, not just the passion, but helping others succeed.
Absolutely.
Because there's not a better feeling in the world than to help somebody else become successful.
Right.
And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. And to me, that's the most gratifying thing. And and having empathy along the way. Because I think you can't stop. There's certain things when you reach a level of success that some people may look back and say, well, for me, it's having empathy and just wanting to help people be successful. Mm-hmm. What is your thoughts?
I couldn't agree more. And since I mentioned Norman Vincent Peale, I'm going to tell you about another friend of mine. Norman Vincent Peale has passed, but this gentleman is still living. His name's Art Holst. He's in his 90s and still speaking, by the way. I love his opening line. Here it is. He says, well, you're probably wondering why you should listen to me, because here I am, an old guy in my 90s. He said, well, I'll tell you this. I've been young, you hadn't been old. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot to say. So I asked him, I said, Art, I want to ask you, in your 90s, you wake up every morning, you're excited about the day. How do you age so elegantly? And he said to me, make sure that you always have something to do, and then he paused, for somebody else.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow. See, he didn't say, oh, I'm just going to go out and play golf. There's nothing wrong with golf, don't misunderstand me. But he said every day, you got to look for opportunities to do something for another person. That way, it fills your spirit and your soul. To me, that's real success, Brad. And I've met a lot of people over the years, as you have, who have been very, very successful in business. And yet, other areas of their life may have suffered because they just had that singular focus. Focus is important, don't misunderstand me. But I think, and you talk about this in your book, there are a lot of elements to success. And I think we all have to take a good hard look at that. And also, what kind of contribution can we make?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, that's what we really leave our life with, isn't it? Isn't that our legacy? What impact we had? People are not going to remember what car you drove.
And what people will remember you by.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's true. I mean, you know, it's like I joke with people. I don't live in some of these homes that, you know, we may showcase in one of the magazines we do. But I will tell you, I think it's having a good balance in life.
Absolutely.
And how will you be remembered? And what have you done to help other people succeed? And how will they remember you? You know, one of my first mentors in my early 20s, they were extremely successful. And one of the things they told me is never ask somebody to do something you're not willing to do yourself. Mm-hmm. And over the years, I've preached that over and over, not just to my kids, but to the people that I helped, you know, mentor. And you're always there to help people regardless of your financial situation, your success, and your accomplishments.
Well, I think one of the reasons that you're such an effective leader, Brad, is that you really do practice what you just said. You don't ask people within your organization to do something that you wouldn't do, whether it's delivering magazines or meeting with clients or outselling. You're doing that. Therefore, they respect and admire you because they know that you're that authentic leader, that you're going to say, hey, here are some things you need to do every day to be successful. And you know what? I do this too.
Well, and you bring a good point, because when my wife and I used to run magazines ourselves, we would be able to, people related to us because we walked the walk. We would never ask somebody, like I said, to do something that we hadn't do. I think a lot of people really related to that and respected the fact that we were in the trenches just like they were in the trenches.
Absolutely.
And when they had a struggle, we could relate to their struggle.
Right, right. I really think that is one of the keys to leadership is, as you said, not asking people that you're leading to do something that you wouldn't do. And I also think that the other word that you shared was empathy. I think that is just absolutely key. You have to be able to be empathetic to people, and they have to be able to feel that you have compassion, that you have a feeling of what it's like to be in their shoes. That's how people connect. People don't connect, I don't think, with leaders that stand up on the throne. Let's just use that as an example. And they're dictating to other people how you're going to do it and this or that. You have to be able to be empathetic, especially in today's world. I mean, it's changed so much.
In my book, I have a chapter on leadership, and one of the things I say is, listen 80% of the time.
Right.
Talk 20% of the time.
Boy,
great advice. Too many people don't listen to what other people are saying. And one of my mentors once said, it's like squeezing the toothpaste out of the tube. Once it's out, you can't put it back in.
That's
so
true.
Choose your words.
Boy, isn't that true? That's true. Well, congratulations on your new book, Brad. I'm pleased to have endorsed it, and it is a fantastic book, and I just want to encourage people to get it. It's going to really make a huge difference in your life. And what I really loved about the book is you touched on so many different areas that are relevant. You talked about belief and about leadership, working with your spouse. Huge, huge. Anybody who works with your spouse, you got to get his book. The insight that he has and your lovely wife Kathy has, it's absolutely terrific. And I've not read many books. In fact, I can't think of another book that I've read that has that kind of information for people and inspiration. So I really want to encourage people to get the book.
Yeah, we talk about, it's another chapter, my wife and I, you have to have that mutual respect for each other. you can't overshadow each other, and you have to be comfortable with each other. And I'm not going to get into that now, but it's an awesome chapter.
Sure is.
And the name of my book is Intentional Success, The Power of Entrepreneurship. And whether you have a business, you're getting into business, whether you're thinking of working with your spouse, great book to read. I encourage you guys to get it. It's coming out in January of next year.
Great.
Roger.
Thank you, Brad.
Love you, buddy.
Right,
Thank you
thanks,
so
man.
much.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Uh-huh.